about 240 years. And I recognized instantly that spirit of contention and of complaint and of a desire to make things better. And I believe that Nigeria is headed in the right direction. And I'm pleased to be here on this 15th anniversary of Democracy Day, marking the end of military rule back in 1999. This is a significant achievement and one Nigerians should rightly be proud of. And I'm also mindful that it comes just after Nigeria has become the largest economy in Africa. And these achievements in democracy and prosperity are landmarks for both your country and for all of Africa as it continues to grow and build and to strengthen its democratic institutions and increase its role in the global community. I'm deeply honored to be here at this time. Of course, we all recognize that at this moment of progress, Nigeria also faces a profound challenge from violent extremism. As we meet here, hundreds of parents in Borno must live with an unimaginable fear as they wonder what has become of their daughters. And with them we know are millions of Nigerians who now face a new concern, not only for their fellow citizens, but for the spread of brutality and instability in their country. And I want you to know that hundreds of millions, if not billions of people around the world share these concerns and are truly horrified by the kidnapping of the girls of Chibok. And in the week before I came here, everyone I mentioned this trip to looked at me and repeated the words made famous by Twitter and America's First Lady Michelle Obama, and they said, "Bring back our girls." This tragedy has captured the imagination of the world community like few others, and around the globe, men and women are praying for the safe return of the girls. Those of us who've worked in the field of international security and counterterrorism, however, know that this mass kidnapping is only the latest in a long series of atrocities Nigeria has suffered at the hands of Boko Haram. Truly one of the most repugnant and vicious groups to emerge since the dawn of the new religiously motivated terrorism in the 1990s. We know too well the litany of these attacks: the bombings in Abuja, the bombing of the UN compound, the slaughter of schoolboys in Yobe just earlier this year, and the various bus attacks. This is a record of relentless and appalling inhumanity. Since Boko Haram resumed its violent activities in 2009, the group has rocketed up the list of the most murderous terrorist groups in the world. By 2012, Boko Haram was the second most deadly group in the entire world, responsible, according to the statistics we use at the State Department, for 364 attacks that killed 1,132 people. That's more than Al-Shabaab, more than Al-Qaeda in Iraq, more than Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, and many other more internationally famous groups. Only the Afghan Taliban killed more people. And in 2013, the number of total attacks actually fell almost by half. Yet at the same time, the total number of people killed increased 31%. And indeed, the most lethal attack in all of 2013 took place last September in Nigeria when members of Boko Haram set up illegal checkpoints and killed at least 142 civilians. And for this year, 2013, Boko Haram had the dubious distinction of being the world's bloodiest terrorist killers, killing on average almost 7.5 people per attack. While most of the world's eyes have been focused on Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, Nigeria's tragedies have multiplied. Nigeria, everyone agrees, does not belong in a group together with Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. But the trends are unsettling and they are clear, and we need to speak frankly about the dangers Nigeria faces. Domestically, the threat from Boko Haram shows alarming signs of spreading despite many significant blows to the group. And anyone who thought that the conflict can be confined to the Northeast can no longer believe that in the wake of 2 major car bombs in a matter of weeks in Abuja earlier this year. It can't be said more plainly. Threats have been made against cities in the south and they must be taken very, very seriously. The danger of complacency in the face of a group like Boko Haram, which operates predominantly in northern Nigeria, can be seen elsewhere in Africa. Now, obviously, a country like Mali bears no comparison to a country like Nigeria. The nations are dramatically different, and the historical circumstances that led to the collapse of the government's position in the sparsely populated north of Mali had much to do with radically changed circumstances. And yet the possibility remains that events can change quickly and have unforeseen impacts, and that is vital to keep in mind. The bottom line here is that no Southerner can dismiss the threat in Nigeria as a distant one. And let me add that we should recognize as well that Boko Haram should not only be seen through the prism of geography, it should also be seen through the prism of religion. And it is true that radical groups such as Boko Haram typically kill, and this is very important, more Muslims than they do Christians. Boko Haram endangers all Nigerians, and it is a dangerous mistake to paint it as a threat only to Christians, thus stoking the tension between communities. And I make this point mindful of the fact that there is no other country on earth in which the two communities, Muslim and Christian, are so similar in size and live together in one set of national boundaries. In that sense, the eyes of the world and the ability of these communities to cooperate and live side by side worldwide, the eyes of the world are on Nigeria. Boko Haram threatens all Nigerians who want to live in peace, enjoy the blessings of their families and homes, and build a better life.
You're still tuned to Channels Television, and you've been watching the second International Conference on Democracy and Good Governance taking place in Port Harcourt. The theme is Nigeria's Democracy, Issues and Challenges. Now, just like this theme suggests, it's been an international conference. The model for adoption is the UNESCO model. And regarding security, that's terror and violence, we're made to understand that it stems from the mind. The Boko Haram insurgency was also discussed. Economic challenges bordered on inequality were also brought up during this event. Now, regarding prospects or the economic future of Nigeria, bilateral trade between China and Nigeria is expected to reach $300 billion. And also, there were also challenges discussed as regards the health sector, and that includes peace and stability, high population growth, youth unemployment, as well as social welfare. The 4 conditions for good governance which were given are peace and security, self-empowerment, building common national values, and military administration, or to move from military administration and democratic practice to a proper practice of democracy. We now take you live to the Government House Owerri for the live coverage of the state of Imo State.
Nigeria has long and strong partnerships in the international markets, especially in oil, but one needs to ask how these would be affected if the terror spread. I do not believe, and I certainly hope, that it will not come to that. President Jonathan and his government in Abuja have recognized the danger Nigeria faces, and they are to be applauded for calling the recent meetings in Paris that brought together so many heads of state and foreign ministers. That meeting had a good outcome, but it was only a start. But it also showed that there are many countries, especially in the West, that are eager to help Nigeria. Nigeria, of course, must also take its own critical steps. The first one regards the tactics that are being employed to combat terror. It is clear that in a situation as violent as the one this country faces, military forces will be called upon. That said, and to put it very bluntly, Nigeria must recalibrate its tactics, reduce the number of human rights abuses, and end the indiscriminate use of force. Too many civilians are being killed in the effort to target terrorists, and too many detainees die in detention. I say this not as a foreigner who comes to instruct Nigerians, but as a friend of Nigeria. And while I believe that every country must observe global norms and standards,